Picture this. It's 1923 in Germany, and you're watching your life savings evaporate before your eyes. Yesterday, a loaf of bread cost a few marks. Today, it costs a wheelbarrow full of paper currency. Your neighbor, the one everyone thought was eccentric for keeping gold coins hidden in his floorboards, is still eating. Your other neighbor, the banker who trusted the system, is burning money to stay warm because it's cheaper than buying firewood. This isn't ancient history. This is what happens when currencies collapse. And it's happened over and over again, in Zimbabwe, in Venezuela, in Argentina, in Lebanon. The pattern is always the same. People who trusted the system lose everything. People who had something real, something outside the system, they survive. For 5,000 years, that something real was gold. The pharaohs hoarded it. The Romans minted it. The Spanish conquistadors murdered for it. Every empire that ever existed understood one simple truth. Gold holds value when everything else turns to dust. The Roman Empire collapsed 1,500 years ago, but a Roman gold coin still has worth today. Try spending a Roman denarius made of debased silver. See how far that gets you. Gold survived because it has properties that make it uniquely suited as money. It doesn't rust or decay. You can't create more of it by printing it on a press. No king or emperor or president can simply decree more gold into existence. It exists in finite quantities on this planet, and extracting it from the ground requires real work, real energy, real resources. This scarcity isn't artificial. It's geological. It's enforced by the laws of physics and chemistry, not by the promises of governments or the policies of central banks. But here's what's fascinating. In 2009, in the shadow of the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, something new emerged. A mysterious programmer using the name Satoshi Nakamoto released Bitcoin to the world. And the timing wasn't accidental. Bitcoin's Genesis block, the very first piece of the blockchain, contained a message. A headline from the Times of London. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. It was a statement of purpose. A middle finger to the entire financial system. Bitcoin promised to be digital gold, but better. Think about the limitations of physical gold for a moment. It's heavy. Moving significant amounts of gold across borders is nearly impossible without attracting attention. During World War II, families fleeing persecution couldn't take their wealth with them. Gold was confiscated at checkpoints. Fortunes were lost simply because they couldn't be carried. Bitcoin changed that equation entirely. Your entire fortune can exist as 12 words in your memory. No border guard can confiscate what's in your mind. No government can seize what they can't find. You can cross any border in the world, penniless in appearance, and reconstruct your wealth on the other side. This is portability that gold can never match. And divisibility. Try buying groceries with a gold bar. You can't shave off a few flakes to pay for milk and eggs. Gold works for storing large amounts of wealth, but for daily transactions, it's impractical. Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million pieces. Each tiny fraction can be sent anywhere in the world in minutes. You can send $5 worth to someone in Tokyo or $5 million to someone in Toronto. The process is identical. Then there's the verification problem. How do you know gold is real? You need expensive equipment, expertise, or you need to trust a third party. Throughout history, people have clipped coins, mixed gold with cheaper metals, created elaborate forgeries. Bitcoin solves this with mathematics. Every transaction is verified by thousands of computers around the world. You don't need to trust anyone. You can verify everything yourself. But let's not get carried away with the hype. Bitcoin has problems that gold never had. Volatility, for one. Gold might fluctuate, but Bitcoin can lose 30% of its value in a week. Imagine storing your life savings in something that moves like a drunken roller coaster. During the very chaos you're trying to protect yourself from, Bitcoin might crash harder than everything else. This volatility isn't just uncomfortable. It's dangerous. If you need to access your wealth during a crash, you might be forced to sell at the worst possible time, locking in devastating losses. And there's the infrastructure problem. Bitcoin only works if the internet works, if electricity works, if the technological civilization we've built continues functioning. During a real collapse, when the power grid fails, when the internet goes dark, your Bitcoin might as well not exist. But gold? Gold works in the Stone Age. It works during the Bronze Age. It works now. It will work after the apocalypse. Then there's the proven track record. Gold has survived every crisis humanity has ever faced. Every single one. Plagues, wars, depressions, hyperinflations, revolutions, dark ages. Bitcoin is 15 years old. It's a teenager. It hasn't been tested by a real, sustained global catastrophe. We think it will survive, we hope it will survive, but we don't know. Gold, we know. Trust is another dimension entirely. Your grandmother understands gold. Every culture on Earth understands gold. It's been valued everywhere, by everyone, for all of recorded history. Bitcoin requires understanding cryptography, blockchain technology, private keys, digital wallets. Most people don't understand how it works. They just trust that it does. And when panic strikes, when real fear sets in, people retreat to what they know. What their ancestors knew. But here's where it gets really interesting. We might be asking the wrong question. The question isn't whether gold or Bitcoin is better. The question is, what kind of chaos are you preparing for? If you're facing hyperinflation, where the government is printing money into worthlessness but society continues functioning, both gold and Bitcoin can protect you. Gold has done this successfully in every hyperinflation in history. Bitcoin did it in Venezuela, where people used it to preserve value and transfer money when their currency became toilet paper. If you're facing capital controls, where the government restricts how much money you can move out of the country, Bitcoin has a massive advantage. China has strict capital controls. Wealthy Chinese have used Bitcoin to move money overseas despite government restrictions. Try doing that with gold bars. You'll be arrested at the airport. If you're facing confiscation, the calculus gets complicated. The United States government confiscated gold in 1933. Executive Order 6102 required Americans to turn in their gold coins and bars. Many complied. Some hid their gold and became criminals overnight. Bitcoin can be hidden more easily, but if the government knows you own it, they can compel you to hand over your private keys. Refuse, and you're going to prison. At least with gold, you might be able to claim you lost it. If you're facing a complete societal breakdown, where the electrical grid fails and we're back to bartering, gold wins by default. You can't eat Bitcoin. You can't use it when the internet is down. Gold becomes money again, like it always has when everything else failed. But if you're facing a tyrannical government in a still functioning technological society, Bitcoin offers escape routes that gold cannot. Activists in authoritarian countries have used Bitcoin to receive funding when their bank accounts were frozen. Dissidents have used it to flee with their wealth intact. This is freedom that gold, in its physical form, cannot provide. The smartest observers have noticed something important. This isn't an either-or proposition. The question isn't gold versus Bitcoin. It's gold and Bitcoin. They protect against different threats. They have different strengths and weaknesses. They complement each other. Think of it this way. Gold is your foundation. It's the asset that has survived everything history has thrown at it. It's your insurance policy written by 5,000 years of human experience. You can hold it, hide it, and pass it to your children. When everything goes dark, it still has value. Bitcoin is your escape hatch. It's your ability to move wealth instantly across borders. It's your protection against capital controls and financial surveillance. It's your bet that the internet and electricity will survive, that technological civilization will continue, but that governments will keep debasing currency and restricting freedom. The people who survived the worst catastrophes in history weren't the ones who picked the perfect asset. They were the ones who diversified, who didn't put all their eggs in one basket, who prepared for multiple scenarios. The German Jews who made it out of Nazi Germany were often those who had some gold they could hide, some currency they could use, some assets abroad they could access. The Venezuelans who survived hyperinflation best were those who had multiple stores of value. Here's something most people miss. The biggest risk isn't picking gold over Bitcoin or Bitcoin over gold. The biggest risk is having everything in the system. Having all your wealth in bank accounts, in stocks, in bonds, in assets that require the current system to continue functioning exactly as it does now. That's the real danger. History teaches us that systems fail. Not might fail, do fail. Every fiat currency that has ever existed has eventually failed. Every single one. The British pound is the oldest surviving currency, and it's lost 99% of its value since its creation. The dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. This isn't a question of if currencies will continue losing value. It's a question of how fast, and whether the decline will be gradual or catastrophic. Gold protects you from gradual decline. It maintains purchasing power over long time horizons. An ounce of gold bought a nice suit in Roman times. It buys a nice suit today. That's stability across millennia. Bitcoin is too young to make that claim, but in its short life, despite massive volatility, the long-term trend has been preservation and growth of value against inflating currencies. But both gold and Bitcoin share something crucial. They exist outside the banking system. They can't be created by central banks. They can't be conjured into existence by government decree. This outsider status is precisely what makes them valuable when the system is in trouble. When banks froze accounts in Cyprus in 2013, people couldn't access their money. Gold and Bitcoin holders weren't affected. When Greece imposed capital controls in 2015, limiting ATM withdrawals to €60 a day, gold and Bitcoin provided alternatives. When Canadian truckers had their bank accounts frozen in 2022 for political reasons, Bitcoin donations poured in through channels the government couldn't stop. These aren't hypothetical scenarios. This is recent history. These things happened in developed Western countries. If it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. The veneer of stability is thinner than most people realize. The institutions we trust can turn against us faster than we think possible. The real division isn't between gold and Bitcoin. It's between people who understand that the system is fragile and people who assume it will last forever. It's between people who prepare for chaos and people who are shocked when it arrives. It's between those who study history and those who believe this time is different. So what's the answer? If you're young, mobile, and technologically savvy, Bitcoin might be your primary hedge. You can manage the volatility, you understand the technology, and you're more likely to face scenarios where you need to move wealth quickly across borders than scenarios where civilization collapses completely. If you're older, less comfortable with technology, or more risk-averse, gold might be your foundation. You've seen enough economic cycles to value stability. You want something you can touch, something that doesn't require electricity or internet access, something your children will understand and value. But here's the truth. The wisest strategy is probably both. Some gold for the worst-case scenario, for the possibility that technology fails, for the confidence that comes from 5,000 years of history. Some Bitcoin for the possibility that we face tyranny in a technological age, For the freedom of wealth that can cross borders in seconds, for the upside of being early to a monetary revolution. The percentage split depends on your situation, your risk tolerance, your age, your mobility, your technical knowledge. There's no universal answer. But having nothing outside the system, that's the real gamble. That's betting everything on the continued stability of institutions that have failed repeatedly throughout history. When chaos strikes, and it will strike because it always has, you'll want options. You'll want wealth that exists outside the control of panicking governments. You'll want assets that can't be printed into worthlessness or seized with the stroke of a pen. Gold gives you history, stability, and tangibility. Bitcoin gives you portability, privacy, and freedom. The question isn't which one is right. The question is whether you're prepared for a world where you might desperately need both.